Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another Spyro news and information video. Today for you guys, I thought I would give you my hands-on impressions with the Reignited Trilogy so far, as I actually got a chance to play 2 levels at E3. These levels being Toasty, which is the very first boss area of the Artesian's homeworld, and then I also got to play Treetops, which is a level found in the Beastmaker's homeworld. Now I gotta say that I am extremely impressed with Spyro. This was one of my bucket list things that I absolutely had to do at E3, and I had an absolute blast playing this game, you know, playing a childhood favorite, but now it's looking absolute crisp. Like, this game, visually, it's just eye candy, dude. It's absolute eye candy. So let's talk about the most important thing that I really enjoyed about this remaster, or more so a remake from the ground up. Spyro controls absolutely beautifully. He feels very, very fluid, and I want to go as far to say that he actually feels more fluid than he did in the original on PlayStation 1. Moving Spyro from side to side, gliding, charging, breathing fire, it all feels extremely responsive. I didn't come across any sort of input delay issues, which is one thing that I actually found across playing a few different demos at E3. This generally comes down to the TV interpolation. Some TVs can be like extremely bad with gaming, and it creates a massive input delay. This is one thing that I didn't found present with the Spyro demo. Sometimes this doesn't actually come down to the TV, more so it comes down to the current build of the demo that you're playing, and I'm happy to say for Spyro that the input was absolutely silky smooth. Like, it felt so good, so responsive, and I just love how fluid Spyro is feeling for the Reignited Trilogy. Visually, I mean, this game, like I was saying, it's absolute eye candy. We now have things like shadows, proper lighting, foliage, and environment detail. We now have a lot of grass present within levels, trees, flowers, bushes. We also have new decorations scattered throughout levels that wasn't previously in the original, but have been added to add more life to the existing level, which I think is a really nice thing. These are welcome changes to things like the Reignited Trilogy. It's not game changing, it's not game altering, but it just adds another level of making the worlds feel really alive, which I really like. The expression towards Spyro as well as other dragons is really fantastic. When you save a dragon, there's a very brief cutscene between Spyro and the dragon that you're saving. This also contains a small piece of dialogue, but in the original game, because of the hardware restrictions of the PlayStation 1, facial animation wasn't really present. They did as best as they could to, of course, you know, represent facial expression within cutscenes in the PlayStation 1, but of course nowadays hardware and software has changed through the roof, so we're now seeing a more expressive Spyro. The voice acting between the two dragons is just absolutely fantastic. Keep in mind, these are all new voiced lines, and we do have the original voice actor from Spyro 2 and Spyro 3 doing Spyro's voice work throughout the entirety of the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, and it just sounds so good. I think one huge welcome change that is currently present within the Reignited Trilogy is the ability to actually control the camera. In the original Spyro games, you could actually only control the camera with L1 and R1, I believe. Now you can actually control the camera entirely with the analog stick, and for a platformer, this is a really important thing. Often it would be extremely frustrating when playing, especially Spyro 1, and having to use, you know, the shoulder buttons in order to actually switch the camera from left to right. Now we have complete control over the camera by simply just using the analog stick, and it feels really, really good. And last up, let's talk about performance. What kind of frame rate was Spyro running at? Well, when playing the demo, I felt as if the game was running at a solid 30 frames per second right the way through. I was really, really happy to discover like no frame drops whatsoever across both of the demos that I was able to play. It stayed at that 30 FPS mark, which is really, really good. You know, it would be a little bit frightening if we were playing through this demo and we were experiencing, you know, like frame drops here and there, especially so close to the launch of the game. It's only a couple of months away, so it's good to see that the game is remaining to stay on that 30 FPS mark. Now, I do know that a lot of people are crossing their fingers that the Reignited Trilogy, its final product, will end up releasing with 60 frames per second enabled. Now, when we look back to the original Crash on PlayStation 1 or Spyro, both of these games ran at 30 frames per second, no higher. When we look at the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, a lot of people were hoping that because this is a remaster from the ground up, hopefully 60 frames per second will be supported. And unfortunately, Vicarious Visions actually decided to keep the Insane Trilogy running at 30 frames per second, as they explained that with the game running at 60 frames, it was creating a lot of different issues within the physics of the game itself. So they actually had to hold the game back and remain to keep it on 30 frames per second, which really isn't a big deal. Like I was saying, when we look at the originals of Spyro and Crash on the PlayStation 1, these games ran at 30 frames per second. So I guess you could say that with keeping the game running at 30 FPS, it kind of keeps that authentic feeling. I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see Spyro running at 60 frames just for the whole smoothness factor, but honestly the game was smooth enough with not having really any input delay whatsoever, and with the game maintaining that 30 FPS mark. All around though, I gotta say that I am so impressed with the Spyro Reignited Trilogy. It's really everything that I personally wanted from a remastered set for the trilogy of Spyro. While playing the demo, I was trying to look out for different things that I didn't particularly like, little nitpicks, but honestly, I was struggling to find these things. All around, it's looking absolutely promising. It's staying very true and authentic to that of the original, just with a few little minor changes here and there. Obviously, the visuals are completely different. Spyro is still controlling the same as he did, if not, I want to say a little bit more fluidly. Otherwise, what we have here is essentially that original Spyro experience, but now it just looks a little bit more pretty, and I think that's exactly what we wanted. The one thing that I will say is that sometimes the camera can be a little bit finicky, can sort of sometimes get stuck in the environment, but keep in mind, this is a demo build of the game, so Toys for Bob still have a bit of time to fine-tune different things in areas of the game before the game's release in September of this year. Alright guys, that's all for today's Spyro video. I'm going to let the rest of the demo footage roll. I had a blast playing this at E3 and I really can't wait for the final product in September. Hopefully you guys are having an absolutely fantastic day. I've been Cynical, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.